Hello everyone, and welcome back to Isaiah for Latter-day Saints. Today we're going to be doing Isaiah 56. We're now into Trito Isaiah. Like I said, we're probably done basically with Isaiah the man himself, although there may be some quotations from Isaiah and references in here. We're pretty much done with Isaiah himself. And honestly, I usually am not personal on this, but it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be to finish the part that was actually Isaiah. Sort of reminds me of having a friend move, right? You know you're going to see them still sometimes, but it's just not quite the same, right? It's surprising how much I've come to love Isaiah during the course of doing this. I guess it's been a few years. Maybe I've been doing this for 4 years, something like that. But it's been a beautiful thing, and I hope you've come to love him too. I hope you've come to love him as much as I have. This has been a beautiful and at times very challenging process, but also deeply moving. He said some truly great things, and his words, even though they're more than 2,000 years old, over 2,600 years old, they still can just reach out and speak to us today. And that's been a beautiful experience being here with him. And it'll be beautiful to be here too with Trito Isaiah. But I really love Isaiah the man himself. And frankly, I'm going to miss him a little bit. But this is going to be excellent. This is some of Jesus' favorite stuff, like I said. And he quotes this periodically. This is a beautiful section, 56 through 66. To be personal again, I was at a conference a few years ago. It's just an stuffy academic conference. We were just doing stuffy academic things. Somebody was giving a presentation on Trito Isaiah, just explaining what Isaiah was saying. And I found myself just sitting there in that conference just like ugly crying, feeling the impact of what Isaiah was saying. She wasn't trying to be devotional even. She was just explaining what he was saying. But what he himself had said was so powerful that it just touched me in a deep and profound way. And that's the point of all this. That's the point of being a careful reader of ancient texts. Even texts that are not even from my own faith tradition. There's some Hittite texts that just give me right in the feels every time. And that's how this should be, right? These texts are supposed to reach out across the eons and speak to you in deep and profound ways. And they do that. They really do that. And I hope that these will speak to you too. Yeah, these guys are talking to people in a specific time and place. Here, we're talking about a little bit later than what we've been talking about before, but they still speak universally to everybody that reads them carefully and understands what they mean. So let's give you actually a brief introduction to Trito Isaiah. What's going on here? So, like I've said before, we've got Isaiah, the man himself, writing 2 through 55. We've got somebody then. This is in the 700s, right around 700 BC, right? So maybe the 750s-ish through the 780s-ish. Actually, we get a pretty fixed start date for Isaiah, but we don't know necessarily when he's born, but we have a decent start date for him. We don't know how old Isaiah is when he starts prophesying, but he starts prophesying the year King Uzziah dies. This is somewhere around 740 BC, something like that. So Isaiah is prophesying from 740 BC for a pretty long time afterwards into the reign of King Manasseh. And Manasseh's reigning from 687-ish BC for a pretty long time, so about 643 or thereabouts BC. So that's a very, very long time. Now, Isaiah's not living all the way through that, but he's starts the year King Uzziah dies, and then goes into the reign of King Manasseh, almost certainly. And so he he may be dying in the 680s, but maybe even the 670s, or even the 660s. So he's living for a pretty long time. But that's the sort of original range of Isaiah himself, the man himself that we just left. He did, like I said, 2 through 55, probably, and 1 and 56 through 66, an introduction and conclusion, which incidentally is what the Book of Mormon authors do, right? They give you a chunk of Isaiah, and they'll give you an introduction to it, and they'll give you a conclusion for it. So that's maybe not so weird for us. But whoever Trito Isaiah is, and as we go through, I'll compare it with Zechariah, and we'll talk about stylistic reasons that I think it's Zechariah. But this person is later. This is going to be during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, that area, right? So this is maybe 515-ish BC is when you get the exiles starting to come back from Babylon. I wish that we had better historical context for this. But the Persian period is a little bit of a blank slate for us. We have some information about it, but not as much as you would like or as you would think. The whole Ezra and Nehemiah thing, the chronology of that is just a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. So it's very confusing, but we will do the best with what we can here. But this is the Persian period. What has happened is the Assyrians. We have the Assyrians from Isaiah's time. They came in, almost wiped out Judah, did wipe out Israel. Then in 586-ish BC, I say around this time, there's debates about all of these things. I'm giving you rough dates. That's why I say 586-ish or around 515, because the dates are always disputed. But around 586, the Babylonians come in and deport a bunch of people. The Persians then conquer the Babylonians and say, okay, you guys can go back and rebuild your temple if you want. A lot of people don't, but some people do. And this guy is part of that community. So that is what we're going to be looking at here. And incidentally, Zechariah is around 520 to 518 BC is when he's writing. He gives you some pretty specific dates. So the notion that he continues and then copies maybe the book of Isaiah and gives you an introduction and conclusion, that's maybe not so weird, right? And that he's right around the right time for this. Maybe he writes his works and then shortly after does this, right? Makes this collection. So it's hard to say, but there's enough similarities that it could be him. We don't know, right? We really don't know. But if it's not him, he's a good point of reference because it's somebody that would probably be in his circle, that sort of thing. So that's sort of what we're looking at here. But the context of this is different, so it's going to feel different. We've been talking about the Assyrians the whole time, and now we're talking about the sort of post-Babylonian thing with the Persians and everybody sort of coming back. So the setting is a little bit different now. But I don't want to be too dogmatic about this. There are some people that really do think that even this goes back to Isaiah himself. I tend not to think that. I think there's enough evidence that makes, between the Book of Mormon and the linguistic evidence and some other things that seem to be specific references to things in Ezra and Nehemiah, I'm going to say, I think this is probably the Persian period. Though you should know that there are people out there that disagree. Maybe not that many, but there are maybe a few people out there that disagree. But I'm going to go with this being the Persian period, and we're going to just sort of plow through this here. But here in Isaiah 56, this is sort of the beginning of a new thought. Thus saith, because this is sort of the beginning of his section, and he's saying, Thus saith the Lord, Keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, The Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in mine house, and within mine walls, a place and a name, better than sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him, to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants. Every one that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and take hold of my covenant. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar, for mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. The Lord God which gathereth the outcasts of Israel saith, Yet will I gather others to him, besides those that are gathered unto him. All ye beasts of the field come to devour, yea, all the beasts in the forest. His watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs that cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They are shepherds that can't understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain from his quarter. Come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink. And tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. So what is this here? He says, Thus saith the Lord. This is the beginning of this new section of Tree of Isaiah. Keep ye judgment, and do justice. Maintain justice, and do what is right. Yeah, judgment is often justice. It's just an old way of rendering that. Keep justice and do what is right, for my salvation is near to come. I'm going to be saving you soon. My righteousness is to be revealed. Or maybe even deliverance is going to be revealed. And he says, Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. So blessed is the person that does this thing, the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that really does it. It's a parallelism. It's an intensive parallelism, right? So blessed is the man that does this, and the person that really does it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, that does not desecrate the Sabbath, do things you're not supposed to do on the Sabbath, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. This is another parallelism, but it's also an intensive parallelism. Blessed is the man that keeps the Sabbath, and even more so, blessed is the man that doesn't do anything wrong. So that's the sense there. Then he says, Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, The Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree. Now what is he talking about, the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord? Why would you have sons of strangers joining themselves to the Lord during this period? There's a few explanations for this. One of them is maybe a little disturbing. We sort of forget sometimes that in combat, one of the most things that happens the most often is sexual assault, right? When you think about for example, the Japanese army invading Nanking during the Second World War, right? That there's a lot of sexual assault that happened. Same thing with the Russian invasion of Germany during the Second World War. There was just a lot of this stuff that happened. There is a huge percentage of the population that is directly related to the soldiers of Genghis Khan, because, once again, sexual assault was incredibly common in warfare. It's just one of those things, and it's really painful and uncomfortable, but it's what happened. So, in the aftermath of the Babylonian invasion, you're going to have these people who are sons of the stranger, who are sons of products of sexual assault. And these people are going to be adults now at this point. So the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord, these people that have become part of God's people, even though they were not sort of genetically fully Israelite, Don't let these people say, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. So you can imagine how uncomfortable this would have been for people in this situation. These people that are now at this point well-established adults, but they are maybe still looking back and being uncomfortable that they are the product of sexual assault. And I mean, even in very recent times, when you meet somebody who is from Korea and they're a quarter Japanese, right? It's a little bit awkward. Everybody knows what happened there, right? So it's a little bit uncomfortable even today. And these people are adults now, right? Well-established adults, many of them, but it's still a little uncomfortable. And you can imagine that's what we're getting here. Because the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Some of these people would think, well, I'm never really ever going to be a part of God's people. How could I be? But he's saying, no, you are. And then he's giving you the very opposite of this. So the person who is a product of a pregnancy that is the result of sexual assault, a pregnancy that people didn't want to have, he's saying, you're part of God's people. But then he says, neither let the eunuch say. A eunuch often just means attendant or servant in the royal court, but here eunuch is probably actually an honest-to-goodness eunuch, someone who, a male who no longer has functioning reproductive organs. Let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. In other words, someone that can't produce fruit, right? A eunuch, in that sense, would not be able to produce fruit, would not be able to produce offspring, therefore is a dry tree. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, that keep the Sabbaths, and this is Sabbath like the Sabbath day, but also there are certain Sabbaths like celebrations, holidays, and stuff. So the context of this is, we talked about this, the Persians have conquered the Babylonians. They said, guys, you can go home. So people are coming back, and they're trying to restart their festivals and everything, their religious festivals, and starting to rebuild the temple. Okay, so that's the context. So the eunuchs that are doing these things, keeping their Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me and take hold of my covenant, to really embrace the covenant and do what pleases God. It says, even unto them will I give in mine house and within mine walls, the temple that they're rebuilding right now, a place and a name better than sons and daughters. Now, I know, in other words, he's saying, I know that you cannot have children, but within the temple you will find a place and a name better than sons and daughters. Just as children take on the name of their parents, he's saying, I will give you a name. You will not have children, and so your name will not be perpetuated that way, but in my house you will have a name. And I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. You will not have your name perpetuated through children, you will have your name perpetuated through me, God is saying. Now, a place and a name, that can be translated a name and a hand, actually. And that is, of course, very interesting for us in the context. He's talking about the temple and talking about a name and a hand, right? That's fairly obvious as a connection to our temples today. And actually, that phrase, Yad Vashem, name in the hand, is the name of the Holocaust temple, or the Holocaust museum, incidentally, in the Middle East. So, but this idea of the temple and being established in the temple and having an everlasting name is very interesting. And when we think about our temples today, the notion of a name and a hand, very obvious modern temple connection, but the idea that this is a name that will never be cut off, I think is comforting to a lot of people. There are lots of people who, for various reasons, are never going to have kids, and who maybe feel like they don't belong because they've come from a place where they're not accepted. But God's saying, you know what? The temple's where you can be accepted. And that really applies to us today, too. The temple is where we can find belonging in the church, even if we don't really feel belong like we belong anywhere else. It says, also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants. Everyone that keep the Sabbath from polluting it and take hold of my covenant. There's also the sons of the stranger, these products of sexual assault, as well as others. There are other people joining the church, but I think he maybe has these. The contrast between the sons of the stranger and the eunuch suggests that he has these people in mind, because it's sort of a contrasting parallelism. But these people that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and take hold of my covenant, the people that fully embrace the Lord, even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. So the holy mountain, because the temple in Jerusalem is on a mountain. It's, mountain, maybe lowercase m. It's a hill, right? But we call it the Temple Mount. It's fine. Mountain is relative depending on where you live. And he says, I'm going to bring them to my holy mountain where the temple is. I'm going to make them joyful in my house of prayer. The temple, their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. These people will be accepted. These people can bring their offerings and sacrifices to the temple, and they will be accepted. For mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people, not just for the people that dress nice, not just for the people that are fashionable, not just for the people that are accepted in society, for everyone. The eunuchs, the strangers, those that are definitely outcasts. You are not an outcast here, he says. The Lord God which gathereth the outcasts of Israel saith, yet will I gather others to him, besides those that are gathered to him. So right now, he's gathering the outcasts of Israel. The people are coming back from the Babylonian captivity. He has gathered them, and he says, I'll gather others to him, besides those that are gathered to him. This is just the beginning. We're going to gather everybody in, eventually, to the temple. Now that fits with what we've gotten earlier in Isaiah, but it's also exactly what we see at the end of Zechariah, too. So a little nod that Zechariah is in mind here, or somebody connected to him, somebody like him. All ye beasts of the field come to devour. Yea, all ye beasts in the forest. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They're all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. So now he is contrasting these people with the people that presumably have ostracized these people. So all ye beasts of the field come to devour, yea, all beasts in the forest. His watchmen, so the idea is you've got all these beasts of the field and in the forest. He says, come here. Come eat these people. That's pretty intense. His watchmen are blind. They're all ignorant. They're all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. The people that are supposed to be watching out and for wickedness, they have no idea what's going on. They're all ignorant. They're just like dumb dogs that can't bark. They're just sleeping. They just love to sleep. They're worthless, like a worthless guard dog. And I think we've all known some of those, right? Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain, and from his quarter. In other words, everybody, they're just in it for themselves. They're not interested in others. They're just in it for them. He says they're not doing anything to actually help. They're not watching out for the people they're supposed to watch out for. Shepherds are supposed to watch after the sheep. Guard dogs are supposed to guard the people. Because they're not doing this. Come, ye say, that I will fetch wine, we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. These people are just saying, oh yeah, everything's fine, it's everybody's gonna just live happily, and we don't have to worry about anything. Everything's great. Well, you're supposed to be looking after these people that have been ostracized, but they're not. They're just looking out for themselves. And he's saying, they think everything's going to be just fine, but that is not going to work out. That is really just not going to work out. These people are just getting plastered rather than actually going out and helping people. And they say, oh, tomorrow will be like today and much more abundant. We're just going to eat, drink, and be merry, and everything's going to be just fine. And we don't have to worry about helping these people that are ostracized. And once again, the chapter break here is unfortunate because he's going to go on to say, really, guys? That is not going to work out for you. I promise that is not going to work out to you. But that's the end of this chapter. But I really, really love the inclusiveness of this, right? That he's saying, listen, you people that feel like you're outsiders, you people that feel like you're ostracized, you're not ostracized. You're not outsiders. God loves you. You can go to the temple and everything will be fine. You feel like you don't have a place, you will have a place in the temple. And that, I think, really applies to us today. For people that feel like they are ostracized, for people that feel like they do not have a place, the temple is the place for you. You have a place in the temple. And that's a beautiful thing to me. Anyway, that's it for today. We're going to be getting chapter 57 next time. But glad to be in the Persian period with you all. And we will see you guys next time.